Splash FM 105.5.
All right, you're welcome back. It's Talking Points on Splash FM in the city of Ibadan. And this is second half of the program. Let's do business now. And by business, I mean making sure that we contribute our quota to make this nation better. Okay, so during the first half, I took a survey, we did a survey of the elections, supplementary elections or rerun elections that were conducted across the nation, particularly in 5 states. You remember that Bauchi was stopped by, the collation was stopped by a court, but I remember we read in the papers that INEC has been granted leave by a court to go ahead and continue with the collation. Okay, so let's quickly go ahead and do something. I like to play around with something. I was talking about this bill a while ago, Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, HB 490. I'll be just going to that one now. So on Wednesday, the President Buhari declined assent to the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, along with 4 other bills. Okay, so in a letter that he wrote to the Senate President, Mr. President said that he was declining assent to this bill, particularly the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, because it covers too many technical subjects and fails to address many of them extensively. So that's the crux of the matter, and I will be digging into that bill in a moment. Okay, it's still Talking Points on Splash FM. I am Michael Olatunbosun, returning for duty. So there's something I was talking about. If you've seen that bill, I mean, I've seen the draft of that bill, and I remember I said that during the first half I said that much, that I, as an activist, also a campaigner for digital rights and the rest of it, you begin to ask the question, what precisely is there in this bill that Mr. President has held back his assent? This bill has been in transit for years now. Okay, I remember the bill was presented, was transmitted to the President by the National Assembly 4th of February. It was presented to the House of Representatives in 2016. It was passed in December 2017 by the House of Representatives. The Senate concurrence was March 2018. So it took 8 months before it was transmitted to the President, who declined. So this bill provides legal backing for online freedom and digital rights in an era when the digital space has become central to our lives. So Mr. President's note is here. He says that the bill covers too many technical subjects and fails to address any of them extensively. I talked about quite a number of things, and the President suggested that the scope of the bill should be limited to the protection of human rights within the digital environment to reduce the challenge of duplication and legislative conflict in the future. But what exactly is this bill about? I would like to just ask you to go online and just go to Google, for instance, and just type in Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, and you will find it. All right. The opening sections of this bill says something. I'd like to read it. It says, a bill for an act to provide for the protection of human rights online, to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement of their fundamental freedoms, and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms or digital media and for related matters. The bill was sponsored by Honorable here, but I'd just like to just go to the preliminary. Section 1 of the bill says the objectives of this bill are: A, to promote the freedoms of expression assembly, and association online. B, to guarantee the fundamental privacy rights of citizens and define the legal framework regarding surveillance. And C, clearly outline provisions for lawful and authorized interception of communication within the digital environment and online without sacrificing the freedom of citizens or their constitutional right to communicate freely. D, accord data privacy more priority and thus safeguarding sensitive citizen data currently being held by numerous government and private institutions. E, to guarantee application of the human rights which apply offline within the digital environment and online and provide sufficient safeguards against abuse and provide opportunities for redress where infringements occur. And G, safeguard the digital liberty of Nigerians now and in the future and seek to guarantee the inviolability of communications except by order of court obtained in accordance with the due process of law and equip the judiciary with the necessary legal framework to protect human rights online. So these are the things that the bill seeks to do. But I am interested in why, what could be wrong with this? And I'm going to be bringing to the microphone a very important, critical stakeholder in this matter. And his organization, Paradigm Initiative, has been instrumental to the drafting of the bill and making sure that the bill comes to life. I had a conversation with him, and I'm going to ask you to join this conversation. Gbenga Sesan is the executive director, Paradigm Initiative. Beg your pardon. Let's listen to my conversation with him now. I'm speaking with Gbenga Sesan. He is the executive director of Paradigm Initiative. Welcome to Talking Points, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Last week, President Buhari refused assent to the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, along with 4 other bills last week. I'd like to ask your reactions. First of all, when you received the news, what was your reaction?
My first reaction was disappointment because Nigeria lost an opportunity. Nigeria would have established itself as a leader across the world, not just in Africa, in terms of, making sure that there's a conducive environment for a digital economy. That opportunity. But my second immediate feeling was that there's more work to do. There's a lot of work to be done. We've seen the letter by the president. We understand, the nuances. We definitely, know what's going on. And what we will do is work continuously to make sure that this bill becomes law. And maybe March later, when all of the dust settles down, the full story can be told.
You said there's more work to do now. But before I go to the nitty-gritty of the bill itself, in the letter that President Buhari wrote, he said that the bill covers too many technical subjects and fails to address any of them extensively. I know that you and Paradigm Initiative were very instrumental in drafting the bill. I'd like to ask you, did you carry along any of the government agencies responsible for any of the issues in the bill, in the drafting particularly?
So in the drafting, you can't carry everyone along in drafting because what you can do is in terms of consultation towards the drafting and consultations after the drafting, because ideally even one person drafts initially and everyone did. Yes, before the drafting was done, there were agencies that were consulted. Don't forget that this is a period of over 2014 to 2019, so it's a 5-year period. Different agencies had new leaderships, had changes and all that. But they were also consulted, and there was a public hearing where all of the agencies were. Any agency that had issues with the bill stated it. There was only one agency that had specific issues with the bill, and when their representative was asked, if they wanted the bill to go ahead and things like that, the representative, was silent. And we can now see that agency's message is what the president used verbatim. That's why I said there's some issues around this, but we'll work around it. This is much bigger than individuals. This is much bigger than agencies. This is even much bigger than any of us who are invested in this, because it is for the good of all. If Nigeria will definitely indeed implement its economic plan, which involves diversification from oil and gas to include the digital economy. Then we need this bill to become law. And that's what our eyes are on. We're not looking right now at, who was steady enough to make sure things like that, but we're focused on the price, and the price is for everyone to pay, including even the president, including everyone, because anyone who is in office today, when they leave office, they will be glad that there's a bill like this that protects everyone, including former office holders. I'm
told that the bill provides legal backing for online freedom and digital rights. In this era where you have, we seem to be surrounded by the online community. But I'd like to ask you, can you tell me what Nigeria stands to lose by Mr. President's refusal of access to this bill?
Well, I think the first loss can already be seen across the world. There have been many statements released by different institutions, different organizations that really, were hoping that this would be Nigeria's, Nigeria would lead in terms of this positive rights legislation. A lot of people held, high hopes. One, simple example is Freedom House. Freedom House is, is a well, when you say usual suspects, there are people who typically measure and produce a report, an annual report on the level of internet freedom across the world. And the statement by Freedom House, I think, beyond our own statement, the Asylum Initiative, the Media Rights Gender Statement, the International Institute for Media and Society, the International Press Center, Freedom House released a statement saying that this is a setback to human rights, not just in Nigeria, because don't forget, people copy bad habits a lot. When there's a shutdown in Cameroon, then Congo does the same, then Tanzania does this, Zambia does it, and things like that. But when there is good news, it also inspires confidence and inspires others to do the right thing. Nigeria could have, set the tone for doing the right thing. But and also speaking about the fact that the bill covers many technical issues. That's not actually the reality of the bill. Digital rights is not a subject that is isolated. So digital rights cuts across many issues, from data privacy to expression to freedom of association, and that's the reason why the bill has to touch on many of the different areas. But like I said, the hands are back on the plow, and we're working to make sure that areas of concern are definitely addressed so that, this 8th National Assembly can, seal the deal before the president resumes for a second term.
I know that there are millions of Nigerians on the internet, but many of them may not be privy to the technicalities of this bill. In layman's terms, what exactly does this bill seek to bring to the table for the common man in Nigeria?
Absolutely. 3 things. Number 1, it makes sure that the internet is a place where people can participate in public debates, can express themselves, can learn without the fear that a big man somewhere will not say, go and arrest him because he said something that I don't like. Okay. We have seen a lot of that happen. Number 2 is to make sure that as our children continue to prepare for the digital economy, because we can't deceive ourselves that in 20 years, the world will remain as it is. As our children begin to prepare for the digital economy, we need to move away from an era where the internet is about oppression and who should not say what, to a place of innovation and free expression. We keep asking the question, when will Nigeria produce a Mark Zuckerberg, a Bill Gates and all that? And I joke all the time that Nigeria can't produce that right now. Africa can't produce that right now because we sent all of them to jail because we were scared of their innovation. We must allow our children to become creative, and that is why the bill talks about online learning, talks about online expression, and talks about that. Third thing is that Nigeria focuses on what is called the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the ERGP, which the presidency is, making sure that it's been. One of the major highlights is that Nigeria needs to move away from over-dependence and over-reliance on oil and gas. which is why we are always fighting, always making assumptions, always having issues. If we're going to move away from oil and gas and move towards opportunities in technology, then we need to tell ourselves and the rest of the world that we have an environment that has rules and regulations that are friendly and that make sure that things are well done. The Digital Rights and Freedom Bill is the law if signed into law, it becomes the tool that tells citizens, tells everyone, and tells the rest of the world that Nigeria is serious about the digital economy and that we're not only focusing on repression, we're focusing on innovation, and beyond that, we have seen the future and we're ready to grab it.
Gbenga Sesan is the Executive Director, Paradigm Initiative. I'd like to come to an area you mentioned earlier, which has to do with giving Nigerians the freedom to participate, express, and learn online without fear. Don't you think that the government should be bothered by the fact that the bill seeks to give so much freedom to Nigerians to run online?
I agree with you that there's that assumption. But guess what? One of the things that we made very clear from the beginning is that the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill is not just about rights. It's also about responsibilities. It is no surprise that anyone who has looked at the bill will see that it actually makes provision for the condemnation of things like hate speech. Yes, it makes sure that nobody can suddenly come tomorrow and say, I don't like what Lagbaja said. I don't like what Iche said. I don't like what Nambi said. I don't like what, Abdullah said. I'm going to send him to jail. It makes sure that there's a thorough process where the court of law can define is this hate speech or not, and then there are punishments for it. The bill is not just about rights. It's about rights and responsibilities.
Okay, so the bill is not just about rights, it's also about rights and responsibilities. But I am bothered by a couple of other things. For instance, the reaction of the civil society community on this bill. You mentioned the media rights agenda earlier on. The media rights agenda stated that President Buhari's reasons are illogical and evidence of his administration's unwillingness to uphold and protect the freedom of expression and other human rights of Nigerians in the online environment. But if you look at the terrain over the last 2 years or so, you see that a lot of people, some called bloggers, some of these people who are called influencers in the internet space, they seem to have developed the reputation of, trying to steer the people against the people in government. They're trying to, also propagate some kind of hate speech, trying to propagate some campaign of calumny. So you think that President Buhari is not indeed dispassionate in shooting down this bill, in all honesty?
Well, in all honesty, I'm glad you used the word shooting down the bill because media rights agenda is right. We have always spoken about the president's body language, and I'm sure that it is clear that this is not a very good body language. One of the things that I did when we were working towards making sure this bill was signed by the president was to ask a question on Twitter and to ask offline from other people, randomly, that do you think the president will sign the bill? And if you think he won't, why do you think he won't? One of the things that came up was that people said, well, the president is a dictator, so he won't sign the bill. Now, that is instructive. That is a perception that is out there. We know people have been arrested. Many of them not even arrested by the president. The Judge was not arrested by the president. Okay. But guess what? When credit is taken, it is taken by the presidency. So when there is flack to be given, it will be given also to the presidency. So people are right to say that the president's body language on not signing the bill is wrong, and it makes people think that maybe they were right to think he was a dictator anyway. But of course, we know better that those who we say are bloggers and influencers and have been propagating a campaign of calumny, let's separate two different issues.
Okay.
There are political campaigners and there are citizens who believe in certain issues.
Okay.
There are people who may be bloggers, maybe influencers, but have been paid to follow certain campaigns. And on both sides, PDP, APC, and even on the other side, we had many of them who cancelled themselves out in what they called balance of forces. They are not my interest. There are laws that take care of excesses. My interest is in citizens who deliberately campaign on issues they believe in. if indeed the presidency or a state government or a local government or an agency is called out and they are indeed guilty of that thing, then they need to address the issues and not throw the banner of hate speech or fake news around to confuse everyone. The second category are my interests. Those people who believe in issues, who, for example, say things like, people died in XYZ, the president has not spoken, he is inhuman. They have the right to say so because that is the truth. He is commander-in-chief, but he is also consoler-in-chief. So when something goes wrong, and because if something goes right, the president releases a statement. So if something goes wrong, he also needs to own that process and also let us see the side of him that is a consoler-in-chief, except that has been delegated and we can see that it's rightfully delegated. So I think it's important to separate between political jobbers and active citizens.
Before I let you go now, this bill has spent a lot of years in transit between the civil society space and the National Assembly. I understand that this bill was presented to the President in February, but it was presented to the House of Representatives in 2016. It was passed by the House of Representatives in 2017. The Senate concurrence was in March of 2018. And then I am wondering, are you going to restart the process, or is there something that the civil society will be doing around bringing this bill back to life?
We have a window until June before the 9th National Assembly begins. Don't forget, I know a lot of people have lost elections, and so there's a temptation for people to assume that no work will be done. Work will be done. We're still in April. In fact, we're still in March. We've got all of April and almost all of May. So we've got 2 months and 1 week for work to be done. That's literally 9 weeks. In those 9 weeks, we're going back to the drawing board with the relevant stakeholders, including especially the National Assembly, because, of course, as a bill, it can only be worked on by elected representatives in the Senate or the House of Reps. Because the bill was transmitted through the Senate president has said that he will set up a technical committee for all the 5 bills restated by the president. And what we are doing on our own part is to make sure that all parties come to the table, including that agency that told the president this is a bad idea. We will get around the table. We will look at what can be done. Now, if in all routes and approaches, it so happens that this bill doesn't get to the president, or it gets to the president again and he rejects it and gives another set of reasons, we know this is going to be a long-term process. We started this work in 2014 and we gave ourselves 8 years. 8 years is only over by 2022. Even if we need to use more than 8 years, we will go ahead and do it. Reality is that even if it's not passed by 8th Assembly, we will begin the process again with the 9th Assembly. But that is Plan D. Plan C is still there, but right now we're focused on Plan B. Plan B is to make sure we have a quick turnaround of this bill at the National Assembly through the clerk's office and everywhere, and it gets passed to the president's table for possible assent before May 29.
I've been speaking with Gbenga Sesan, Executive Director of Paradigm Initiative. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much.
Splash FM 105.5.
The moment is finally here to hit the 42-kilometer track at the 11th edition of the Power Oil Splash FM Ibadan City Marathon Race 2019. Coming up on the 14th of April 2019 with a whopping 3 million naira cash prize to be won. Other races include short race, artisans race, run for a course, and more. Forms are available for free on www.ibadoncitymarathon.com or at the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, Southwest Zone, Obafemi Awolowo Stadium, Liberty Road, Ibadan. The Power Oil Splash FM Ibadan City Marathon Race 2019. Supported by Kerom Lee Gym and Fitness Center, Paris Bakery, Munro Glucose D, Elo Waters, Solar Motels, and Lifestyle Restaurant and Lounge. It's time to make your run count.
All right, it's still talking points on Splash FM in the city of Ibadan. You're welcome back. That conversation I had before the commercials was with Gbenga Sesan, Executive Director, Paradigm Initiative. we were conversing on the refusal of assent by Mr. President to the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill. Basically, the bill, from my conversation with Gbenga Sesan there, the bill was is basically to provide safety on the internet for all Nigerians, to move away from the oppression on internet to innovation and freedom, so that people can, loosen up and be creative and innovative on, particularly now that almost everywhere in the world we are moving to the knowledge economy. So it helps in helping the diversification ideals of the nation, so that you can diversify the economy and provide opportunities in technology and the rest of them. But Mr. President declined assent to this bill. I'm wondering, what exactly are we going to be losing if we don't get this bill back to life? That bill, gone through a lot. Gbenga there talked about from 2014. The journey started in 2014. So getting the draft to pass at the National Assembly, to pass the House of Representatives and go to the Senate and then become a law of the National Assembly and go to the President, was a long journey that was truncated in some way. And I'd like to get your reaction to this matter. How do you react? The media rights agenda has said that President Buhari's reasons are illogical and evidence of his administration's unwillingness to uphold and protect the freedom of expression and other human rights of Nigerians in the online environment. How do you react to this? As a matter of fact, Paradigm Initiative also describes the refusal of assent as a huge setback for human rights online in Nigeria. What does the bill intend to bring to the table? The law is to protect digital rights and online freedom in Africa. And it was to be, if Mr. President had signed it into law, it would have been the first in Africa. So it would have been landmark for Nigeria. The bill provides for data privacy, freedom of free speech, press freedom, lawful interception, and surveillance. So these are some of the issues. And we know why, the civil society space has been trying to bring this law to the table, because Nigeria lacks what you call a comprehensive legal framework that protects human rights online, making Nigerians vulnerable to rights abuse and the rest of it. So what do you think about this? All right, let's talk. 0809-155-1055. Would you like to talk to me? What exactly is your own perception of this matter? Have a caller here. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Akimbolu.
Akimbolu Shore. Let's talk very quickly, sir.
Yeah, Mr. President is getting the bill. It's not new thing to me.
Okay.
If you recall, last year, Melai said that Mr. President refused to sign into law over 300 and something bills. And now, in rejecting this one now, I'm coupled with the others. It shouldn't be new to anybody.
All right.
I think the problem is that Mr. President do not understand some of this importance of this bill.
Well, Akimbolu Shore, I hope you remember that Gbenga Sesan told me that one government agency was standing in the way of this bill. So he may not be the president totally. The president has to receive advice, don't forget, from these specialists.
Yeah, I know that. But one thing is this: if you are given advice, you have to know the meaning of the advice that's given to you. And you must know the importance of what the person is giving you the advice on. If the manager fully understand the meaning, the true meaning, and the importance of this bill, no matter the advice that's given to you, you need to do the right thing, Abi. That's what I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akimbolu Shore there. Okay, so let's talk now. 0809-155-1055. A text message here. Paul from Ibadan. The primary function of a government is to safeguard the lives, rights, and properties of the citizens. So I'm surprised that he could reject the bill which would protect the rights of Nigerian citizens online. Bills regarding the people's rights should not be rejected. He said this is a democracy. Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay, so there's this. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Talking Points on Splash FM. May we meet you? All right, I'd like you to call back much later. So there's this phenomenon called shutdowns. All across Africa, you have some countries where they don't have space. They don't have temperament for the online soldiers. So what they do basically is to have periodic shutdowns, particularly during election periods. Remember that prior to these 2019 elections, build up to the 2019 elections, there were speculations from some quarters that the government might be shutting down the internet so as to prevent people from really getting the updates on the election. There was also this insinuation that some years, I think it was a year or two ago, that there was insinuation somewhere that some bodies were trying to get some consultants somewhere to track Nigerians online and the rest of it. So this bill was to help to give some sanity to the ecosystem, the internet ecosystem, and make sure that everybody transacting on that highway has a right to be there, and also the concomitant, the responsibility of also making sure that they do what is right. Okay, so those are the basics. But basically, I just thought I should ask your opinion on these issues. All right, so would you like to talk to me? 0809 155 1055. If you'd like to tweet, you can tweet at Splash FM 1055. At Splash FM 1055. Okay, we'll be here to attend to your comments, queries, and tweets. Okay, all right, so let's talk. 0809 155 1055. Let's do the business now. Another caller here now. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
My name is Abdul Rashid Badamati Babasoja.
Yes, sir.
You cannot blame Mr. President not to assent to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way some people are looking into that bill, maybe looking at it with different eyes. We can be thinking whether they are going to benefit from signing the bill, and which is not. So we cannot blame Mr. President since he is advisor to advise him whether to sign or not to sign. That is my own contribution.
All right, thank you very much for joining the conversation. 0809 155 1055. All right, so what exactly is the issue with this bill? Another caller is here. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Ayo from Oyo.
Ayo from Oyo. Let's talk, please.
Yes, my own contribution is that, first of all, I would like to caution Nigerians about the particular thing. It is in Nigeria discovered that everybody has an idea of everything that goes on.
Okay.
Talk about health, talk about security, talk about everything. Everybody just know everything. And I always tell people, as far as security is concerned, the presidency or the president, whoever he is, whether Buhari today or whoever tomorrow, knows more than everybody.
Okay.
So there are some times when the president takes some. I'm not trying to speak for the president, but I want to believe. I've held some little posts before, and I see how people from the outside talk, and I just smile because they don't know things that is going on. You know, and I always tell people, no matter how bad something looks, try and see from a rational point of view. Okay. Everybody seems to be a lord in every area, and so that's what I just want to say. The president is the number one citizen of the country, and he knows more than everybody when it comes to security.
All right.
So I feel probably he knows some things that some of us don't know.
All right.
That is why he's withdrawing his accent. So that is just my own view.
All right. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. Ayo from Oyo. Okay, 0809 155 1055. That's the number. Okay. The assent of Mr. President would have gone a long way to define the administration's disposition towards technology and its viability in improving the economic base of Nigeria. You wonder why we have not been having people getting innovative online. You have the Mark Zuckerbergs of this world and the rest of them. We've not had one in Nigeria? When are we going to get our own? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Olusoji speaking.
Mr. Olusoji, let's talk very quickly, sir.
Please, I would like to contribute to the program.
Go ahead, sir.
Why Mr. President refused to sign the bill is because there's no proper understanding.
All right.
The agency that is holding Mr. President down, they might have a wrong interpretation to him.
Okay.
They might not get what the presenter of the bills are saying properly. All I would just advise the presenter is find a way to get back to Mr. President, maybe one-on-one, and explain and try to make him feel easy.
All right.
As far as the bill will help Nigerians, the youth, the future of our nation, he will surely sign.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olusoji there. Okay, I was talking about this digital rights bill. I said that it provides for the protection of human rights online. It protects internet users from infringement of their fundamental freedoms and guarantees the application of human rights for digital platform users. Okay, the bills also seeks to guarantee human rights within the context of emerging innovative technologies, security concerns, increasing citizen participation in governance and democratic process. So those are some of the issues that the bill had sought to really sort out. And some of these issues are really very, very germane and relevant issues, if you ask me. When are we going to be able to diversify? I remember one of my conversations with the Minister of Communication. He said that if you just go and check online, one of the very first statements he made when he was appointed minister was to make the ministry, communications and the rest of it, to make it the cash cow of the Nigerian economy. So you understand that the government had been talking about diversifying and the rest of it. If you are diversifying and moving away from oil, you should understand that we need to join the bandwagon, or allow me, the bandwagon of countries making profit from the digital space and also innovating. And this is the technology, they call it the knowledge economy. And some of these things are very important. All right. Okay. So the bill provides for conventional rights aimed at making online spaces rights inclusive, and is an attempt at balancing the friction between security and human rights in the digital age. So you understand some of the issues, some of the underlying factors. The bill addresses the subject of hate speech in a way that ensures safeguards for both the accused and alleged victim, and ensures that free speech does not suffer in the process. You understand that, don't you? 0809-155-1055. Would you like to talk to me? 0809-155-1055. Would you like to tweet at Splash FM 1055? I'll be waiting. Hello. Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Mike.
Good afternoon, sir. What's the name, sir?
Yeah, Steve Adeogun is my name from Olodo area.
Steve Adeogun. All right, sir.
Steven.
Yeah.
Steve for short.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to contribute to this issue very well.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, from my own point of view, this digital thing is a twin sister of the press or the media. So they are inseparable.
Okay.
So this is where the duty of the Minister of Communication actually comes in. So let the president invite, or the presidency invite the Minister of Communication, as well as
the Minister of Information.
Yeah, so that they can demystify the area, the gray area that are really somehow very not clear to the president.
All right.
This is, I support the group that are talking of advice, of the media advisors, and the Minister of Communication or the Minister of Information, so that the president can understand it perfectly well, and then know what the next step to take on approving it. It will actually improve the nation and bring glory to this country.
All right. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diogun, there calling as well. All right, it's still talking points on Splash FM. We are talking digital rights and freedom bill that was turned down by Mr. President last week. Asking your perception of this matter. On Twitter, Akinlolu tweets, Mr. President will always decline such bills because it will give the people too much freedom to check the irregularities in the government. The government will always adopt anything that will propagate them positively, but for this, I don't think it will be accented. All right. Thank you very much, Akinlolu. You'd like to talk to me? There's still some time for a couple of calls. 0809-155-1055. Let's go now that way. Okay, so let's do it. 0809-155-1055. Okay. Good. I also have a conversation that I'll be bringing to you tomorrow. I'll let you in on that in a moment. Before I go, I'll let you in on that. It's there's this Nigerian. It's from Oyo State particularly. It's called Adebayo Alunge. He happens to be the first African to have won an award. I'll let you into that in a moment. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Mr. Michael.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Talking Points. What's the name, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
God bless you.
Yes, sir.
I am Samuel from Lalukon.
Samson.
Samuel Olusegun.
Okay, Samuel Olusegun.
From Lalukon.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, if you can see the reality on ground, you will know what is really happening.
Okay.
The inauguration of this administration, you'll be able to realize what is really happening. So now you blame the president for it. There's a need for him to liaise with the appropriate agency. To know the right thing to do.
Okay.
God bless you, Mr. Michael.
All right. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. Okay. 0809-155-1055. If we can get one more call in, I'll be glad. About that. 0809-155-1055. That call is here now. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, good afternoon.
Michael, good afternoon. This is BJ.
BJ, welcome. Let's talk, please.
Yeah. Michael, please, I want to ask you a question. Please.
Go ahead.
I know you can't answer it based on the fact that you are the anchor.
You want to ask me a question and you know that I won't answer the question. Why, BJ?
I just want to show you. I just want to know. It's what you know. I know you don't need to say anything. I know people. How many bills? Let me don't say the policies. The bill you are talking about. If the bill probably the president gives consent to it, it won't work now. Maybe you know the system we run here.
What is the system? You know something that I don't know.
It's what we know.
You must know something that I don't know.
Let me set an example.
Ouch. I'd like you to call back. Okay, so thank you very much, BJ there. Imagine. Okay, so I have Aduni tweeting here. The first part of your tweet is not really palatable. You understand. It's not to be broadcast. There's something called not to be broadcast, NTBB in broadcasting parlance. Okay, but the second part, I'll take it. It said passing the bill will give a lot of people boldness to do what they shouldn't do. This is Nigeria. We overdo things. Big indictment here. Okay, thank you very much, Aduni, for your tweet. Okay, so so I was telling you, I'd just like to say that's the last call for the day. Let's go to some other things. M-Spice is in the building already, and she's ready to run the show from 4 p.m. till till all right. I was talking about Adebayo Alunge the other time. I said he's the first African to win the global challenge for its invention that saves lives by detecting fake drugs. This invention is called RX All Scanner made by Alunge and he's from Ibadan. I told you that is from Ibadan. He won the Deep Tech Global Challenge. It's like an Oscar, actually, for his scanner that detects fake drugs and helps to save lives. I will be talking about this matter tomorrow on the program Talking Points. I'd like you to listen to my conversation with him tomorrow on the program Talking Points. It's a big feat, all right? 4,500 entries and 119 countries, but he came out tops in this invention. What exactly is it? I'll be talking about it tomorrow on Talking Points on Splash. I'd like you to join me then, okay? Meanwhile, I'd just like to go now. I'd like to say thanks to you for joining the conversation today. Let's do so tomorrow after the news at 1 o'clock. My name is Michael Olatunbosun. I'd like you to do all within your power to make this nation better. Bye-bye.